Thank you for joining us today. This is PAVE's 85th weekly conversation. My name is Tara Andringa, and I am the Executive Director of PAVE and will be the moderator today. During the month of May, we are looking at examples where AVs are making a difference and serving the public good. We wanted to look at some specific examples. We talk a lot generically about how AVs have the potential to improve mobility and safety, and we really wanted to look at some use cases where that's happening. So today we are really excited to talk about the Trenton MOVES project in Trenton, New Jersey. And we have two amazing panelists joining us, Dr. Alan Kornhauser, who's a professor at Princeton and the initiator of the Smart Driving Cars, and Jerry Huh, who is the executive director of the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, or CARTS. Thank you both for joining us.
To be here.
Thank you.
Excited for this conversation. Wanted to start just really quickly with an introduction of both of you, and Professor Kornhauser needs no introduction, but if you could just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this, that would be wonderful.
Well, we don't have no, whatever. Yes, Alan Kornhauser. I guess I'm finishing my 50th year as a professor at Princeton. Who knows, whatever. I think I did my first automated transit system design for Trenton, New Jersey. I think it was dated March 1975. Never mind. Led the Princeton team in the DARPA challenges. For a bunch of undergraduates and somebody who doesn't know what he's doing, we did pretty well. And have pursued trying to get to deployment, I guess, is really, to finally capture some societal value out of all this investment that's been made in this technology. So that's really where I come from.
Wonderful.
Jerry.
Thank you so much. Yep, Jerry, if you could tell us what CARTS is and what your mission is there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jerry. I'm a Princeton alumni as well, so we got our Princeton connection with Professor Kornhauser. CARTS is a New Jersey-based nonprofit dedicated to the provision of safe and high-quality mobility for all. And that's our mission. And one of our best tools and promises right now is really autonomous mobility, because autonomy is safety, autonomy is scalability, and autonomy is equity. So we are facilitating the community-oriented deployment of autonomous mobility with the industry, with the public sectors, with academia, and most importantly, with the community members. So we have been providing both the technical support and leading the community engagement for the Trenton MOVES initiative.
Fantastic, and we're excited to hear more about it. Professor Kornhauser, I'm hoping that you can start with the big picture of how this came to be. Just could you tell us a little bit about the transportation environment and transit environment in Trenton and what you saw the unfulfilled needs were that you were trying to address?
Well, I think, I've sort of been dabbling in this technology for an awful long time, and I guess really was trying to focus on really deployment, as I mentioned earlier, getting something actually to operate and deliver the value. And I guess some time ago, more than 10 years ago, I guess I realized, because I sat on the Princeton planning board for 7.5 years and whatever, that my goodness, what you need is a welcoming environment in a community. Otherwise, as I like to say, you don't have a chance. Trying to come in from the outside and saying, here, I have this great solution for you. Everybody should know. Here, I'm going to do the greatest thing for you. I don't know. It didn't seem to me that that kind of thing has ever worked. And so I guess what we've been really doing for a large part of the time is trying to, as I like to say, establish a field of dreams here with respect to a welcoming environment. I sort of looked at what happened in California, certainly what happened in Arizona. The governor laid out a red carpet in Pittsburgh. The mayor of Pittsburgh laid out, a red carpet, and I guess that's, otherwise those initiatives I don't think would have gotten to where they were, and basically set out to create that in New Jersey, and of course was heavily impacted by the fact that the Amazon second headquarters, it looked like it was going to be in Queens. It's not going to be in Queens. even though there was all kinds of leadership from the top, all kinds of money, all kinds of tax breaks, if somebody forgot to talk to the community, oops. And so in a sense, what we've done here in Jersey is almost begin with the community and then work from the community on up, on down, depending on which orientation you prefer to take, all the way to the governor. And sort of that sort of orientation of our field of dreams. And I think we've accomplished that in Jersey, in which we believe we have basically everybody lined up for the right reasons for the opportunities of this mobility. And as we see this is a mobility thing. It's not a selfie, or it's not a hey gizmo. It's how I want to get from A to B. I use the elevator analogy probably ad nauseum to people, but to me, if you sort of want to understand what the heck it is that we're trying to do, it's the elevator is something that everybody or most people have taken and can really understand. I walk in a building, I try to find where the elevator bank is. I might say, hey, Alexa, yo, I need to go up, or who knows, I might have a gizmo, whatever. And if a door isn't already open there and welcoming to me, I hop in. You might actually hop in behind me. I might try to close the door before you come in, but I might let you in maybe. And sometimes we share that thing to go where we're going. We don't really know that it goes. I mean, it could be going who knows where, whatever. And if the door opens, we get out. We walk to our wherever and we forget about it. That's what we're trying to create in Trenton. That kind of, now do it horizontally, okay? And it seems to me that elevators seem to accommodate everybody. Question of equity isn't there. Question of cost isn't there. The question of is it going to be available? I mean, if it's not available 24/7, whoever built that building can't collect any rent from the 14th floor. So therefore, it will never been built. I like to tell my students, if we didn't have driverless, operatorless elevators, the skyline of New York might look like that of Paris. Not that might be better. Don't want to suggest anything, but it certainly would be different. And so this is what we see, that this is the empowerment of the mobility that is provided, and it really is mobility. Now, some people call this transit. Call whatever you want, okay? And who knows? I mean, I guess that's what sort of transit wants to do. The problem with transit is constrained. That's not 24/7. You know what to do, except in New York City, of course, but whatever. So that's what we're trying to do, is that concept. And that's the concept of the field of dreams, is that if we think that we have the welcoming environment, then the McKinsey says it's 300 billion that's been invested in the technology. Then all those that have invested in that technology may actually come and begin to capture and deliver some value out of this. And of course, the concept of starting in Trenton is very critical to all this. We think there's a ready market of people who this technology doesn't just provide some little incremental value. Should I take this or should I take that? Let me see what my mode split model says today. No, I mean, this is vast improvement over what they have. Vast. Why? Because for good or for bad, the 70% of the households in Trenton have access to one or fewer cars. And so if you all of a sudden put yourself as now this thing is competing with walking, boy, man, it wins. It's like, great. It's competing with my whatever that I have parked outside of my kitchen door, never mind. Jerry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's a fantastic, way to put it. If 70% of the households have limited mobility options, it really shows the need for it. And I love the metaphor of the elevator, which everyone understands.
I hope so.
Yeah, Jerry, I'm hoping you can kind of give us a little bit more of an overview of the program and what it entails and how it works and what the goals are.
Yeah, I can show the ODD currently planned briefly, but in short, Trenton MOVES, it stands for Mobility and Opportunity Vehicles Equity System, and equity is key here. And as Professor Kornhauser mentioned before, I think everyone that we lined up together in New Jersey so far are doing it for the right reason. And by everyone, I mean Office of the Governor, NJDOT, City of Trenton, and Princeton University, who are leading this initiative. And we are providing the technical support and the community engagement for this initiative. And to quote Governor Murphy, Trenton MOVES is the first autonomous vehicle-based urban transit system in America. Autonomous vehicle-based urban transit system in America. And to show what the autonomous vehicle-based urban transit system in America means, I'm sharing my screen briefly to show the ODD that we currently plan for Trenton. It's going to go into different phases, but overall, Trenton is our state capital of New Jersey, 8 square miles. We extended the operational design domain network a little bit outside of Trenton to cover some of the more frequently, visited locations in Ewing and Hamilton. So overall, the network is about 10 square miles in terms of area, but we use the minimum number of street networks to connect them. So it's basically a network fenced ODD. We planned for 100 autonomous vehicles to serve this 10 square miles with about 50 to 60 neighborhood pickup kiosks. So all the little dots that you're seeing here is kiosk to make it more appropriate as a transit system. And the goal is to serve all 90,000 Trentonians, for them to go to Trenton Transit Center, go to City Hall, go to Mayor Donnelly Homes, go to NJDOT headquarters, go to Capitol Plaza, go to Audi, go to ShopRite, and go to Walmart. Believe it or not, there's no Walmart in Trenton, and we want to. And for many Trentonians, unfortunately, it's their aspiration to go to Walmart. So we are hoping this network can actually take them to ShopRite, take them to Walmart, take them to doctor's appointments, take them to school, take them to work, take them to play. So that's what Trenton MOVES is in a nutshell.
That's fantastic. And I'm curious, with that many residents that you're covering, how are you getting the word out? How are you letting people know about this new program?
I can briefly say about this because we've been doing community engagement well, as early as 3 years ago, way before the announcement of this project, but the majority of our community engagement effort really started last year. We're kind of coming out of COVID. The first thing that we did is we knock on the doors of Mayor Donnelly Homes in early August. And Mayor Donnelly Homes is the headquarters of a Trenton Housing Authority. We had some local volunteers to help us because everybody in Trenton that we talked to believed in our vision, believed in the societal benefits of the system. They understand Trenton MOVES is much cheaper than taxis and much better than buses. And then they wanted to help. So we knocked on doors at Donnelly Homes. We visited senior centers. We visited every single senior apartment in Trenton. We talked to the Trenton Central High School, which is the centralized, school system in Trenton, where there's about like 2,000 students. And we've been engaging with their STEM Academy because we not only want to get the words out about this project, we really want to make them part of this initiative. Actually, we want them to take ownership of the initiative because it's their city, it's their project, it's their network. So that's what we've been, I would say, successful about because we have met with zero pushback from any resident that we talked to in Trenton, including Lyft and Uber drivers in Trenton, including all the students in Trenton, all the 10th graders in Trenton. they bought the vision and they are in. Everybody is 100% in. And it's not just the students, it's the superintendent of the school, it's the executive director of the Trenton Housing Authority, it's the Trenton Public Safety, it's the president of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. It's everyone in Trenton. So everybody wants to do it. So to some extent, while we're very grateful for the leadership of Governor Murphy, NJDOT Commissioner Diane Scacchetti, and City of Trenton Mayor Gusciora, who's been with us since day one of this project, we are really, really excited to have enthusiasm from every single person that we talk to in Trenton. So to some extent, it is a real grassroots initiative as well.
That's incredible. But along those lines, one thing I was wondering about, it PAVE, what we've experienced and what you see in a lot of, public opinion polls is people unsure about AV technology, that they question if it's safe. They say, I would never get on something that's not driven by human. Have you experienced that much among the residents?
Well, of course, first of all, people in New Jersey know nothing about this.
Sure. Yeah.
And in fact, we have not pressed the technology. We may have not said the word LiDAR once. Yeah. Okay. This isn't about the technology. This is about the mobility. Okay. And sure, some people sort of might comment a little bit about safety. I guess they worry about safety when they go in elevators. Actually, people die in elevators. Don't tell anybody, but whatever. Yeah, no, you can look it up. Google, never mind, but whatever. No, they're very safe. But and safety is really important. But in fact, mobility is, I don't want to say more important. Safety is a requirement. It's a necessary condition. Mobility is really the thing that you want to maximize, okay? And nothing is perfectly safe. If we're really going to talk about this as opposed to whatever. And so, yes, life's a risk. But I think what we're finding is that people are intrigued about the being able to get from A to B. And not really the how. They in some sense, since they don't know, they almost don't care. It's really interesting. And sort of the backdrop on all this, as I mentioned before, whatever the number is that's been spent on the technology, essentially zero has been spent on the sociology. And we focus on the sociology of all this. So one of the key ingredients of the evolution and the creation of Trenton Moves is, of course, to get to 100 vehicles, beginning 100, then it's going to have to be 200, then 300, then it's going to go to Mercer County. Then if everybody's a boom, it's throughout New Jersey. This is the scale opportunity that we see with this. If we do Trenton right, boom, it's the big bang creating the universe. Okay, as we like to say, and we can then replicate it in Newark, we can replicate it in Camden, we can replicate it in Perth Amboy, we can replicate it in Peoria, we can replicate it in Scranton, the president's home. Absolutely, all these places have pockets of individuals that, I mean, if you look at the mobility opportunities that they have to be able to, they can't get to an Amazon facility to join a union. They can't even get there. Okay, so let us forget about it. So it's and so that's really what we've been looking for to create out of this, to create a demonstration that allows a lot of other entities to be able to go for it. Key to this is that creation, as I said, of the welcoming environment, such that the technology companies come. We assume they're going to be safe. What the heck did the 300 billion go for? Okay, they better be safe. We want to have attendance in each one of the 100 vehicles. Okay, we'll only be able to operate them 12 hours a day because we can't afford attendance the other 12 hours a day. But the purpose of the attendance is for the sociology, not the technology. It's to acclimate the customers to the service. So if we were sitting in 1943 or 1942 in elevators, guess what all elevators had? it had an operator in there.
Right, interesting.
Somehow in 1945, they kind of disappeared. We know why. I won't mention why. People know why. All of a sudden, poof, boom. This is what we think. So that if we have this operating for, let's say, 2 years, something like that, then in fact, the customer will become acclimated to it and then become comfortable and won't mind sharing it with you. Won't, if that happens to be, would be just happy and so on and so forth. Will know how to behave in it. Will behave in it. The kids are critically important for them to think it's their toy, not my toy. I mean, if you think about it, this isn't rocket science, you know, it is really important. And so that's why we're in the high school with the kids and opportunities for their lives. Behind Jerry is, you know, the sign on the bridge across the Delaware leading to Trenton. Trenton makes, the world takes, you know. This is Trenton moves, the world improves. We think we're first in the world to do this. These kids in this high school, you can imagine what they are and look like. All of a sudden, they're part of the new wave.
Yep.
When Sputnik went up, I was in 8th grade. It changed my life.
Huh. Yeah, I love the engaging the young people. That's
absolutely. I mean, it's not a joke. It's not on the side. It's not one it is fundamental.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and then Jerry, another thing that Professor Kay talked about that I would really like to kind of deep dive into a little bit more. Most of the questions we got from the audience in advance were about how to replicate this in other cities. And Professor Kay mentioned all the other cities that this could go to. People wanted to know like what steps people in the public can take to encourage programs like this and what kind of stakeholders need to be involved. Could you talk a little bit about kind of what you all have experienced and how you would replicate something like that?
Yeah, so what we did in Trenton, as I mentioned briefly earlier, we started with the 90,000 residents of Trenton. We identified 50 kiosk neighborhoods. We talked to the existing mobility providers. We talked to the faith community. We talked to the business community. We talked to the senior community. We talked to the public housing residents or any places where there's a high density of residents. We talked to the schools, very important. We talked to public safety, very important. We talked to local NGOs. There are many nonprofits in Trenton with the Trenton Social Impact Group who absolutely want to do this with us as well. So I think everyone should talk to the local different kinds of nonprofits. We are a nonprofit ourselves, but we have our nonprofit coalition. We talked to major employers in Trenton, including some trucking companies who actually would benefit from some kind of autonomous vehicle sending an employee to their location, because unfortunately it takes 1 hour or 1 hour and a half to get someone from downtown Trenton to where they are able to work with our current transit system. So, and of course, we talked to our New Jersey Department of Transportation. We're engaged with the New Jersey's DMV, what we call them MVC here, but the DMV is very important. We talked to the mayor, the city council. We talked to New Jersey Assembly. We talked to the New Jersey Senate, and we talked to the governor. So that's basically the spectrum of people that we've engaged with. And our advice, if we may give some, is to start somewhere on the spectrum. Talk to the neighbor, talk to the residents, knock on doors, talk to the school kids. I talk to every single Lyft driver whenever I'm in Trenton. I don't own a car myself, so I take Lyft. Yeah, just start conversations, and then eventually, I think whoever wants to make this happen for the right reason will come together.
That's great. And also curious, someone else had asked, are there any lessons learned or things that you would do differently if you were giving advice to a community? Anything that you wish you had known when you began?
Whoa, that's a tough one. That's a darn good question. Sure, of course. I tell my students, you learn more by making from your mistakes than you do from your things you do correctly. And so, absolutely, I think the idea is to just dive in, as Jerry has said. It I don't. What affected me most, as I mentioned, was watching the Amazon second headquarters process in Queens, and I watched it from a distance, and it just hit me over the head in terms of the amount of leadership that was behind it, and the societal benefit that I thought would accrue from it. 50,000 jobs. I mean, come on, that's non-trivial. And those are substantive 50,000 jobs. It didn't happen. And so, in the aftermath of that, one looks, what it tells you is that really you need to start with the customer. You need to start with the community. And this is where we started, with the customer, not the person that pays for it, the person that uses it. And also, I think what is, as Jerry mentioned, the reason why we've kept going and what kept us going is that everybody we talk to wants to do this for the right reasons. And one knows when somebody is talking about, wanting to do it for the right reasons, or do it for, whatever it is that would, whatever them. And it's the amount of giving that we have found for, as Jerry mentioned, the NGOs, the African American Business Council, the mayor, the governor, the congresswomen, and so on, is that really this isn't about votes.
Yeah.
This isn't about that. This is about saying, my goodness, we have tried for how long to provide half decent mobility. In New Jersey, we have something called Mount Laurel regulations that require low income housing. What did we do here in Princeton in locating on low income housing or affordable housing? We located it on affordable land. Do you know where affordable land is? Where there's nothing. So therefore, you need mobility to go get anything from that affordable land. So therefore, you need a car. Okay, so yeah, for some of us, a car is a pretty trivial thing. For others, it's a substantial portion of their income. And so all of a sudden, we created affordable housing with expensive mobility. This opportunity here by having, where is it, this thing do the driving, as opposed to having to pay me a wage that to support my family and have a nice job and be safe and all that. The difference between this and this is a substantial amount. This is an opportunity to provide affordable mobility to affordable housing, creating affordable living. Come on, we should be doing this all over the place.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, when it's, again, this isn't rocket science, although all my degrees are in aerospace engineering, and I did want to go to Mars, but never mind. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So that's what we're about here. And this is what we're essentially, everybody sees and sees, oh my goodness, yes. And finally, all 300 billion's been invested in this.
Yeah.
We're ready to finally capture the societal value, some societal value out of all that investment. That's us.
It is incredible.
And we think that it is replicable. It's not just for Trenton. It's for Newark. It's for Camden. It's for Atlantic City. It's for Perth Amboy, Peoria, Birmingham. You name them. Tallahassee. We can go through the whole list. What have we located? 100 different metropolitan areas or places and so on. We have a map that shows you. You click on it, it'll tell you.
We hear from so many communities interested in things like this. We only have 1 minute left, and I know you all have an event planned in June to get the community engaged. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that and how people can get involved. Jerry, can you share some details about that?
Sure, I would love to share. If I may squeeze in 10 seconds, I would love to illustrate, Professor Cornell's vision of transforming affordable housing to affordable living. So I am an architect by training, and we actually have a design team within CARDS that we are actively engaging with the community members to actually design their own neighborhood kiosks. So this is the vision that we designed with the residents about a sort of a Walmart kiosk. It doesn't have to be Walmart, it could be Target, it could be ShopRite, it could be anything. And Walmart and Get It, they're not sponsoring us, but this is just the vision, really to transform affordable housing to affordable living. And then we are involving with the 50 kiosk neighborhood that I mentioned, and we are going to visit every single neighborhood and make one transit kiosk with them based on the community's input. So that's also very crucial for our community engagement initiative as well. And with respect to our June event, our shameless advertisement here, but we are hosting our annual Princeton Smart Driving Cars from June the 3rd to 4th. June the 3rd will be in Princeton University, the usual, student type program for everyone to really sit down together and figure out how we can move this industry forward and move it to the right direction. For June the 4th, we are hosting the inaugural Trenton Mobility Festival in downtown Trenton. And we are actually having some autonomous vehicle providers sending in their vehicles for display to really connect the industry with the community, connect industry with the people, to initiate a conversation for them to really learn what mobility aspirations they have and how the industry can really work together with the community to provide mobility. There will be music, there will be DJs, there will be food, there will be music. It will be a very beautiful early June afternoon in New Jersey, and we welcome everyone's participation.
Fantastic, should be a great event. We are sadly out of time, it always goes too fast, but Professor Kornhauser and Jerry Hunt, thank you both so much for joining us today, and thank you to the audience, and we will see you next time.